Welcome to another Scottish Watches video. We have Pietro from the limited edition on the line with us, virtually, not in real life, but we have got these watches here in the studio in real life for you guys. It's the turn of Raketa, a brand I know a lot about because I own one, and I also know a lot about because Pietro has filled me in. He sent me various different watches over the past few months I've got the chance to check out, review on the channel, put on Instagram, talk about in the podcast, but I haven't seen these ones before, and there's one right in the middle that's catching my eye, so we'll get to that shortly, but now is the time to find out how are things with Pietro.
I'm very well, Ricky. Thank you for having me again.
No problem at all. Right, what's the story with Raketa? For anyone that hasn't heard, give us the 60-second elevator pitch.
Yeah, Raketa is a fascinating story, really, Ricky. I didn't know, as many, that we are actually talking about one of the oldest watch manufacturers in the world, and of course, quite low profile for most of the worldwide audience, of course, except for the Russian audience, because up until the Soviet era, this brand has been well hidden within the borders of Russia. Whereas in the last few years, obviously, it's been, and we have been given access to a rich history, a strong legacy, and a very interesting way to propose value at a very good price point, if you like.
So this is the first little chap that we have, also the daintiest. So what is the story with this little guy?
Yeah, so the one you're seeing now is the Polar 50th anniversary. The Polar expedition was one iconic and legendary endeavor that was taken on by Russian explorers in 1970 for the exploration of the polar circle. Now, all the Raketa watches are either inspired or tested or conceived by professionals of all sorts of ventures like exploration, military, air force, etc., etc. So this is a bright example of an expedition that has become iconic, and this was the watch that was developed in 1970 and now revamped as the 50th anniversary.
And what is the rundown? What's the technical spec on this little chap?
It's been produced in 200 pieces only. It's a stainless steel case with gold PVD coating on the top, whereas the stainless steel case back, and the case back is also screw down steel. It features a manufacturer manual winding. It's the caliber 2623. Raketa is famous for making their own movements, which is a thing that doesn't apply to all the parts, such as the sapphire crystal and parts of the case. They collaborate with external suppliers, sometimes even outside Russia. But in terms of the movement itself, they are actually home manufactured in their premises in St. Petersburg, which is an incredible achievement when you think that most of these watches are priced between 600 and 1,200 pounds. So it's a real value proposition. The dial is silvered with sunray pattern, representing obviously the polar circle and the Antarctic circle as well. And it features the hours, minutes, second indication, 42 hours power reserve and 30 meters water resistant, which makes it, for a watch that is only 35 millimeters, it makes it for a very quirky, nice limited edition that talks about history and talks about something, again, a brand like Raketa that is really not mainstream in any possible way or stretch.
Not at all. And what's the price point on this one here?
So £1,042 in the UK, excluding VAT. So then VAT will be applied depending on the country you're ordering from. Mm-hmm. But again, a very strong price positioning.
Excellent. Right, let's move on to the next one. Right, I didn't expect this one to sit flat on the desk, and it's not exactly sitting flat on the desk, but it's doing a decent approximation of it. So run us through this one here.
Yes, so this is the famous, it may look familiar to you as well, Ricky, as I know you have a knowledge and a passion for Raketa, is the famous Big Zero. Big Zero, which is called that way for, because of a very interesting anecdote that happened in the 80s in actually my motherland in Italy, when one of the last Soviet Union presidents, Mikhail Gorbachev, who, obviously made his name in history for trying to modernize and push forward to modernity the Soviet empire in those days, implemented the politics of the perestroika. So when he was asked by an Italian journalist during one of his visits to Italy what perestroika was, Mikhail Gorbachev famously pointed at his Raketa watch that, by coincidence, instead of the 12 o'clock indication had a 0, and he said it's like starting from 0. So it was a restart for Russia historically, and the fact that Gorbachev used this particular feature and watch to show that has made obviously this watch an icon of Russian watchmaking. So the big 0, available in white and black, features some very, very cool details as you're showing. One of them is the mineral crystal case back, which gives obviously the view on the in-house manufactured caliber, which is the 2615 in this case, and a lovely dial with this stamped pattern of squares with overimposed indexes on the chapter ring. As you can see, the kind of 3D look of it remains intact when you switch over the color of the indices with the color of the dial itself. I really like the depth of the dial.
Completely inverted, so it's a kind of golf ball dimple effect.
Oh, nice. Yes. Yeah, precisely. Also, the hands have a fairly quirky shape, and yes, I really like the see-through. Again, when I mentioned that the movements, all the calibers are actually in-house made in St. Petersburg, it's kind of striking. Raketa, when the Soviet Union was a closed market, Raketa was one of the main suppliers of the whole of Russia. So they had a production of over 5 million watches a year back in the days. Today is more of a niche manufacturer, but still the fundamental ethos has remained the same. The calibers, the mechanical movements, up to the most important parts, Ricky, this is gonna be like a bold statement, but even the hairspring is made in-house by them. And to encourage people finding out about this, you must have found in the watch that you recently acquired, your Copernic, you must have found an invitation to visit the factory in St. Petersburg as well, to see and touch with your own hands the genuinity of this story.
Yes, I was actually in touch with one of the folks from Raketa on Instagram. We'd put up a wrist shot, I think it was, or maybe it was a table shot of the Copernic, and they got in touch to say, really like it, any chance we can use that on their own social media? I was like, of course. And you're right, in there was an invitation to go when we're able to travel across and check out what they're up to in person, and that's something I would definitely do. And what is the price point on these two?
So these are the entry price, and you won't believe it, Ricky, but these are £540 excluding tax, retail. Again, in-house manufacture movement and all the details we've been talking about. So it is the perfect, featuring the automat as well, which is an historical movement for Raketa. It is the perfect entry-level piece to start, a collection on Raketa.
Well, we have one watch left to go, so let's move these guys out of the way, and I don't know if we've left the best to last, but we're about to find out.
So as we said, the history of Raketa is very much embedded in the history of Russia in terms of ventures related to explorers, the military, the air force, but also the artistic avant-gardes. Very recently, Raketa has been very creative with some limited editions that were specifically dedicated to those artistic avant-gardes of the likes of, very important artists of the likes of Kandinsky, Malevich, for example. We have seen in one of the other videos we have produced together, Ricky, the avant-garde specifically inspired by the work of Kandinsky, whereas this one is the Big Zero Malevich, of course inspired by the work of Malevich, one of the fundamental artists of the Russian avant-garde. Obviously the minimalistic style of Malevich is depicted on this dial, which is actually made of a semi-precious stone called a grey violin, which is a stone that is actually embedded in the dial and composes the dial itself. Obviously, the black square by Malevich is one of the most important pictures of the Russian avant-garde, and is very nicely depicted on this specific dial.
A little bit tricky to tell the time. I'm obviously doing a very good job of holding it at a position where you can see, but if I was to do that, then you're on your own. I have seen this before. I think one of the guys we speak to quite a bit, Zach Blass, used to do some writing for us, now works for Time and Tide. I believe he either got one of these as a press piece or he bought one for himself.
Yeah, and you have a great point there. This is an artistic interpretation of a timepiece, and in terms of the technicality of time reading and also the technicality of the dial itself, it's more of a visual effect rather than a mechanical kind of endeavor. But still, when you turn the watch like you've just done here, you can appreciate the level of craftsmanship that goes into these in-house manufactured pieces, and compared to the entry-level version of the Big Zero, this is the high specs where you can appreciate the special decoration of both the rotor and the main plate of the movement itself. So the price point is £1,083, and it is a stainless steel 38.8 millimeters case with a mineral crystal glass at the back to appreciate again the meticulous work on the watch movement itself, which is the 2615 automat caliber by Raketa, which beats at 18,000 vibration per hour, so very steady and very reliable in that respect. 40 hours power reserve and 100 meters water resistant. Raketa covers all their watches with 2 years warranty, and at the limited edition we add our own warranty for additional peace of mind, and this includes all the brands that are listed on our own platform. This particular limited edition has been developed in collaboration with one of the most important art galleries in Moscow, which is the Tetrakov Art Gallery as well, which is obviously famous for covering all the Russian artistic avant-gardes, which is a place I have visited in my several trips to Moscow in the past.
Again, these watches here are unworn. These are for sale, hence I'm not going to do any wrist shots, and if there's any sort of dust or anything like that you can see on them, that is just surface dust. That is not a problem, as in it's been worn before or anything. We do have some videos with Pietro where the watches we have are demo units, but these, as you can see, are unblemished, and yeah, that's the way you want it, and that's the way you get it at limited edition. Now, if anyone wants to find out more about these watches, what you do, or what Raketa have got available, how can they find out more?
Absolutely. The website, thelimitededition.co.uk, is a great place to start. Over 30 names of the independent watchmaking category are officially represented there. And then if you want to interact with us, Instagram is probably the best place, and it's thelimitededition.uk. We have regular broadcasts and regular coverage on the world of independent watchmaking.
Well, if you like what you see here, we've got plenty more videos on our channel, plenty more to come from Pietro and others. Scottish Watches, that's the place to check out on YouTube, at Scottish Watches on Instagram, scottishwatches.co.uk, and we've got a podcast that's out twice a week. Mondays and Thursdays we've done an episode with Pietro where you can find out more about the man, the myth, the legend, and the limited edition. So thanks for watching, and Pietro, we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you so much, Ricky. See you very soon, and thanks for all the space that you give to the world of independent watchmaking. Catch up soon.
Catch you guys later.